Welcome back to Old Penny Coins HD, the channel where ordinary coins turn into extraordinary money. Today, we're revealing the top 10 most valuable U.S. penny coins that collectors are paying big cash for right now. So watch till the end, because number 1 might already be in your collection. Stop scrolling. This small penny in your pocket could be worth thousands of dollars, and most people spend it without knowing. Imagine holding a tiny piece of copper that tells the entire story of an American legend, a coin so small yet so powerful that it captures 200 years of history, innovation, struggle, and triumph, a coin that was minted for only 1 year but changed the world of modern collecting forever. Welcome to the extraordinary story of the 2009 Lincoln Bicentennial 1 cent. Coins, a series created to honor the birth of Abraham Lincoln, the humble beginnings of a man who would become one of the most influential leaders in human history, and the evolution of a nation shaped by his legacy. Today, we journey deep into the origins, symbolism, mysteries, production secrets, and collector value of these remarkable cents. And by the end, you will never look at a penny the same way again. This is more than metal. This is the story of America told through 4 tiny masterpieces. In 2009, the United States Mint prepared something truly historic as the nation approached the 200th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth and the centennial of the Lincoln cent itself. For 100 years, the portrait of Lincoln had appeared on the 1 cent coin beginning in 1909. But the year 2009 offered a unique opportunity to celebrate the man, the myth, and the milestones that shaped the United States. The Mint decided to release 4 special reverse designs, each one representing a different chapter in Lincoln's life, and in doing so, they created one of the most fascinating numismatic programs in modern United States history. The story begins in Kentucky, where Abraham Lincoln was born in a simple log cabin in 1809. A childhood of hardship, scarcity, and frontier living. The birth and early childhood design pays tribute to this beginning, featuring the humble cabin that symbolizes Lincoln's earliest years and stands as a reminder that greatness can emerge from the most modest origins. The image is more than a building. It represents the foundation of a life that would guide a nation through some of its darkest days. As Lincoln grew older, his family relocated to Indiana, where he spent his formative years learning reading by the dim glow of a fireplace and shaping the curiosity that would define his adulthood. The second coin, known as the Formative Years Reverse, captures the young Lincoln sitting on a logbook in hand, focused and determined, an image that resonates deeply with the spirit of self-education and perseverance that would later define him. This design tells collectors that the true power of leadership begins with learning. When Lincoln reached adulthood, he eventually settled in Illinois, where his political and legal career took root. The third coin, the Professional Life Reverse, shows Lincoln standing proudly in front of the Illinois state capitol, a tribute to his growth from a frontier boy to an influential lawyer, legislator, and rising national figure. This moment in his life reflects ambition, maturity, and dedication to public service, which ultimately guided him toward the presidency. Finally, the fourth coin, the Presidency Reverse, commemorates Lincoln's time as the 16th President of the United States. The design features the partially completed United States Capitol dome surrounded by scaffolding symbolizing a nation still under construction and undergoing transformation. The dome itself was still being rebuilt during the Civil War, and its unfinished appearance became a powerful metaphor for Lincoln's leadership through conflict, sacrifice, and the quest for unity. These 4 designs together form a complete journey from birth to leadership, a visual biography in copper, each coin minted for only a single year and each carrying deep historical meaning. Collectors immediately took notice, and the coins became a sensation, especially among new collectors, school groups, educators, and history lovers across the country. But the significance of these coins extends far beyond their artistic beauty and historical symbolism. 2009 also marked a pivotal year for United States coinage, as the composition of circulating cents shifted dramatically due to rising metal prices. Most circulating coins produced in 2009. Limited number of collector versions were minted in 95% copper, the same metal composition used in the original 1909 cents. This made the collector-proof and uncirculated versions incredibly desirable, not only because of their historical theme, but also because they restored the classic feel, weight, and ring of traditional copper cents. The 2009 series also introduced a range of varieties, errors, and mintages that further fueled collector interest, from doubled dies to misstrikes to low production runs at different mints. Each aspect added excitement and depth to the collecting experience, with millions of people searching through pocket change, hoping to uncover rare pieces beyond the coins themselves. The 2009 program ignited a renewed sense of appreciation for American history. Lincoln's life story and the artistry of the U.S. Mint educators used the coins as teaching tools. Museums incorporated them into exhibits, and the artistry of the U.S. Mint educators used the coins as teaching tools. Museums incorporated them into exhibits, and families across the country found themselves having conversations about Lincoln that may never have happened. Otherwise, the Mint followed the four reverses with the introduction of the Shield cent in 2010, a permanent redesign that symbolized Union strength and the preservation of the nation, inspired once again by Lincoln's legacy. But the 2009 coins remain unique because they are the only circulating coins ever issued by the U.S. Mint to commemorate Lincoln's life across multiple chapters, creating a narrative series in a way no other coin program had done before. The production process of the 2009 cents also carried special significance. The Mint worked with historians, artists, and scholars to ensure authenticity and accuracy in every detail, from cabin architecture to historical clothing to the incomplete Capitol dome. Each design was researched and refined to create true historical representation, and the result was a series that not only honored Lincoln, but also served as a miniature set of educational illustrations preserved permanently in metal. Today, collectors continue to cherish these coins, whether still in circulation, mint sets, or proof sets. Their value varies, but the true worth of the 2009 bicentennial Lincoln cents is deeper than price. It is their role as storytellers, as tangible links to the life of a man who shaped a nation and whose ideals continue to influence modern democracy. When we hold these coins, we hold a piece of history, a piece of a story that stretches from a tiny frontier cabin to the halls of Washington, from a self-taught boy reading by firelight to a president guiding a fractured nation toward unity and hope. And that is what makes the 2009 Lincoln Bicentennial 1-cent coins more than metal. They are the voice of the past, speaking through the currency of today, reminding us that great things can rise from humble beginnings, and that even the smallest objects can carry the largest stories. Imagine holding a small copper coin that carries the weight of an entire nation's story, a coin born from a celebration 2 centuries in the making, a coin that does not simply mark time, but captures the journey of a humble boy from a log cabin who rose to guide a fractured country through its darkest trial and secure its greatest rebirth. The 2009 Lincoln Bicentennial cent is far more than a piece of pocket change. It is a miniature monument struck to honor the 200th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, and in every curved line and symbol it holds echoes of the frontier, the awakening of ambition, the halls of power, and the triumph of unity. This is the forgotten epic of how America turned one of its most beloved presidents into a numismatic legend, and how a single penny ignited collectors across the world. Today we go deeper than the metal, deeper than the minting, deeper than the design itself. Because the story of the 2009 Lincoln Bicentennial cent is the story of America rising from wood smoke and wilderness into steel battlefields and enduring democracy. And if you think you know the Lincoln penny, you are about to discover how much history can be hidden inside a coin you barely notice in your hand. Welcome to the full untold saga of the 2009 Lincoln Bicentennial Cent. To understand the meaning and magnitude of the 2009 Lincoln Bicentennial Cent, we must begin long before the year 2009, long before the U.S. Mint conceived four designs, and long before anyone imagined commemorative pennies circulating freely across the country. We have to step back into the life of Abraham Lincoln, the man whose story defined the very soul of the United States and whose image has graced the 1-cent coin for more than a century. The origin of the Lincoln cent dates back to 1909, the centennial of Lincoln's birth. And that alone gives the 2009 series a deep generational symmetry. For exactly 100 years, the nation had honored Lincoln on one of its most common coins. And as the bicentennial approached, the U.S. Mint saw an unprecedented opportunity to retell the president's life in four vivid chapters, each immortalized on a reverse design that would travel through millions of hands, linking modern America to the boy from Kentucky. But our journey begins even earlier in the frontier world that shaped Lincoln. The rugged woodlands of Kentucky and later Indiana formed the backdrop of his childhood, a world of rough-hewn cabins, smoky fireplaces, and the steady rhythm of frontier survival. This is where the first 2009 design, the birth and early childhood in Kentucky, finds its inspiration, showing the small log cabin that anchored Lincoln's earliest memories. This is the Lincoln that few coins or monuments ever show, not the statesman, not the orator, not the emancipator, but the child who learned the meaning of hard work, perseverance, and resilience. The boy who had no idea that he was growing into a legend. The U.S. Mint wanted this design to remind Americans that greatness begins in the most unexpected places, in a humble structure, built from rough timber in a rural community where education was sparse and life demanded constant grit. As Lincoln matured, his world expanded, and the second design, the formative years in Indiana, captures this transformative period, showing a young Lincoln seated on a logbook in hand, taking a moment to study between the endless tasks of frontier life. This design represents a crucial truth about Lincoln. He was largely self-educated, driven by curiosity and a hunger for knowledge that set him apart from nearly everyone around him. He walked miles to borrow books. He set him apart from nearly everyone around him. He walked miles to borrow books he wrote by firelight. He absorbed every scrap of learning he could find, and the Mint chose this moment to honor the intellectual fire that would later define his leadership for collectors. This second design stands as one of the most human and relatable images ever placed on a U.S. coin, a reminder that Lincoln became Lincoln because he refused to stop, learning no matter how limited his circumstances. From there, the story moves to Illinois, where Lincoln began building a life in public service, and the third 2009 design, the professional life in Illinois, captures him standing tall before the old Illinois state capitol, a confident lawyer, statesman, and figure of growing influence. This is the Lincoln who sharpened his political ideas, who learned the complexities of government, who developed the moral and constitutional principles that would one day guide him through the Civil War. He practiced law, traveled the circuit, delivered speeches, and debated issues with a clarity that made even his rivals respect him. The Mint created this design to emphasize Lincoln's steady rise from frontier youth to respected public figure, a journey that mirrors the country's own, rise from scattered settlements to an increasingly unified nation. Then at last we come to the fourth design, the culmination of Lincoln's ascent and the turning point of American history. The presidency in Washington, D.C. It depicts the half-finished U.S. Capitol dome, a powerful symbol chosen deliberately by the Mint, because during Lincoln's presidency, the dome stood incomplete, just like the country itself. The nation was fractured, the future uncertain, the Civil War raged at levels of devastation never seen before yet. Lincoln insisted the dome continue construction as a symbol that the Union would endure and one day be whole again. This final design honors the strength, determination, and vision that carried the country through its greatest trial and laid the foundation for a renewed United States. It is a tribute not just to a president, but to the endurance of democracy itself. These four designs together form one of the most ambitious and historically rich coin programs the U.S. Mint has ever produced. Each reverse captures a stage of Lincoln's life, and each design was released sequentially throughout 2009, allowing Americans to follow Lincoln's story month by month. As the year progressed, collectors flocked to bank schools and mint releases, creating a surge of excitement not seen for decades in U.S. coinage. Kids hunted through pocket change families, gathered sets, and seasoned numismatists searched for pristine strikes and rare variations. Coins quickly became a cultural moment, connecting generations and inspiring millions to rediscover Lincoln's legacy. Beyond the designs, the Mint also experimented with composition. 2009 was the first and only modern year in which the cent returned to its original 95% copper metal makeup for special mint sets, echoing the composition used in 1909 for the very first Lincoln wheat cents. This decision added another layer of symbolism, reinforcing the idea that 2009 was not just a commemorative year, but a bridge between past and present. The Mint crafted proofs, business strikes, and collector versions across Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, creating a wide range of varieties that today help define the richness of the series. As the coins entered circulation, they became more than currency. They became miniature textbooks, storytellers, educators, and keepers of heritage schools used them in lessons. Families passed them down. New collectors were born from the excitement, and for many Americans, it was the first time they realized how much history hides in the design of everyday change. The 2009 Lincoln Bicentennial Cent did not simply honor Lincoln. It revived national curiosity about his life, his values, and his journey. Even today, these coins hold a special place in the world of numismatics. Every design is a snapshot of American identity. Every copper surface echoes the frontier, the courtroom, the political stage, and the battlefield. The coins remind us that Lincoln was not a myth, but a real person, shaped by time, struggle, learning, failure, success, conviction, and compassion. And in 2009, the Mint gave the country a rare opportunity to see him not just as a face on a coin, but as a human being whose life unfolded in chapters as rich as any movie or novel. The 2009 Lincoln Bicentennial Cent stands as one of the most beloved circulating commemoratives ever released, a four-coin documentary in metal, a national biography struck into billions of pieces, a testament to how America remembers its heroes and how a single life can reshape a nation from the quiet cabin to the presidency, from rustic wood floors to the marbled steps of Washington. The story told by these coins is the story of journey transformation, sacrifice, and the enduring promise of the United States. These pennies may be small, but their history is vast, and for 2 hours we can walk their narrative just as we have today, uncovering the meaning behind every design, every inspiration, every moment captured in copper. Imagine holding a single cent in your hand. One small copper-plated coin that weighs almost nothing. Yet, the story behind it carries the full weight of American history, because this is no ordinary penny. This is a time capsule, a tribute to a moment that shaped a president and in many ways shaped a nation. This is the 2009 Lincoln Bicentennial Formative Years 1-cent coin, a coin that does not just commemorate a birthday, but captures the heartbeat of a young Abraham Lincoln walking the soil of Indiana, learning, growing, dreaming, and forging the character that would one day lead the United States through its greatest trial. So in this video, we are diving deep into every hidden layer of this coin, from the political forces that brought it into existence, to the masterful design process, to the historical scenes it preserves, and the rare varieties that collectors hunt obsessively. And by the end, you will never again look at this coin as pocket change. You will see it as a monument struck in metal, a museum small enough to carry with you. Welcome to the full story of the 2009 Lincoln Formative Years Cent. As the story begins, Imagine America in 1809, the year Abraham Lincoln was born in a small log cabin in Hardin County, Kentucky, a birth that at the time seemed insignificant, but would become the foundation of a legacy that altered not only the fate of this nation, but the meaning of liberty itself. 2 centuries later, in 2009, the United States Mint prepared to honor the bicentennial of Lincoln's birth and the centennial of the Lincoln cent itself, a coin introduced in 1909 to commemorate the first 100 years of Lincoln's life. The Mint now stood ready to expand that tribute, creating a 4-coin series, each one capturing a defining chapter of Lincoln's development from Kentucky to Indiana to Illinois, and finally, to Washington. But the second coin. The formative years design of 2009 stood apart because it represented the heart of Lincoln's growth and the transformation of a curious frontier boy into a thinker, a learner, and a man shaped by the challenges of early American life. To truly understand the formative years sent, we must step back into the young Lincoln's world in 1816. The Lincoln family left Kentucky and moved across the Ohio River into the rugged forests of Indiana, a land untamed, filled with thick timber, dangerous wildlife, unpredictable weather, and isolation. It was here, between the ages of 7 and 21, that Lincoln would face hardship loss, backbreaking labor, and limited access to formal education. Yet despite those challenges, he nurtured an intense hunger for knowledge, borrowing books, walking miles to reach a neighbor willing to lend a volume, reading by firelight after long days of physical work. This period made Lincoln who he was, a man grounded in humility, curiosity, strength, and compassion. So when the 2009 series was conceived, the United States Mint knew the second design had to capture this crucial chapter of American history in a single image. That image would become one of the most meaningful penny reverses ever created. The design selection process for the 2009 series was not simple. Congress had mandated the new coins through the Presidential $1 Coin Act of 2005, which required the Mint to develop 4 distinct reverses each, telling a chapter of Lincoln's story for the formative years. Design artists, historians, sculptors, and engravers collaborated intensely to determine how to visually express the essence of young Lincoln's Indiana life after reviewing concepts, sketches, and narrative proposals. The chosen design was created by Richard Masters, a University of Wisconsin art professor whose vision captured Lincoln, seated on a log, reading a book with an axe resting against the log behind him, symbolizing the balance between physical labor and intellectual growth that defined his youth. This artwork was then sculpted by U.S. Mint sculptor-engraver Charles Vickers, who transformed the concept into a highly detailed relief emphasizing Lincoln's posture, his intense focus on reading, and the textured environment of the Indiana frontier. When the coin was released into circulation in May 2009, it immediately generated public interest because it felt like a miniature historical painting. Its imagery was clear, relatable, and deeply symbolic. Lincoln sits absorbed in learning, his legs bent in a relaxed but determined pose. The open book in his hands, not only referencing the limited yet cherished education he fought to acquire, but also serving as a metaphor for the American belief that knowledge can elevate any individual regardless of their origins behind him. The axe, the essential tool of frontier survival, leans into the design as a reminder of the hard labor that shaped him and provided for his family. The merging of book and axe represents the duality in Lincoln's life, the mind and the body, the pursuit of wisdom and the endurance of toil. The coin is not just a scene from Lincoln's boyhood, it is a statement about the values that shaped his leadership and about the spirit of America in the early 19th century. The minting process of the 2009 formative years cent marked a notable moment in U.S. numismatics. Since 1982, cents had been made from copper-plated zinc rather than solid copper, and the 2009 series maintained this composition except for special collector sets struck in 95% copper, replicating the original metal content of the 1909 Lincoln cent. The copper collector versions offered sharper detail, richer color, and a nostalgic sense of authenticity. while the ordinary circulation strikes produced at the Philadelphia and Denver mints were distributed widely across the nation. Millions of Americans found them in change and immediately recognized the unique artwork, making the series one of the most popular modern penny issues in decades. Collectors soon discovered that the formative years cent produced a surprising array of varieties and errors, many caused by the complexity of the detailed design, which included Lincoln's hands, the book pages, and the contours of the log. Some of the most famous varieties include double-die obverses and reverses, where elements such as Lincoln's fingers or parts of the book show clear. Doubling the 2009 D doubled hand varieties became especially sought after, as well as die. Cracks, cuds, misalignments, and off-center strikes, all of which added layers of fascination for hobbyists. These varieties turned a coin already rich in history into a treasure hunt for collectors, with some error pieces selling for impressive premiums as the market began analyzing and cataloging the range of anomalies produced that year. Beyond the physical coin, the formative years design revived excitement in American numismatics because it brought millions of people back to the act of checking their pocket change. School children, teachers, parents, and young collectors began searching for these coins, sparking discussions about Lincoln's early life and the American frontier in classrooms and homes across the country. The coin served as a teaching tool, a gateway into history, and a reminder that currency can carry stories as powerful as any textbook. The mint received widespread praise for this educational impact, reinforcing the importance of commemorative issues and their ability to connect the public with the past. From a historical perspective, the formative years cent preserves a moment that might otherwise fade from public memory in 21st century America. It is easy to overlook the reality of early frontier life, but this coin immortalizes the struggle, the growth, and the determination of a young boy who would one day become a symbol of perseverance for the world. The artist did not choose a scene of triumph or glory. Instead, the design focuses on quiet learning, self-driven improvement, and the everyday labor that built Lincoln's character. This choice makes the coin uniquely powerful because it does not glorify Lincoln. It humanizes him, showing the roots of greatness rather than the achievements themselves. Imagine holding in your hand a coin that was born in the middle of the most devastating global conflict the world had ever seen. A coin struck not from the usual copper, but from steel coated with zinc. A coin that stands as both a necessity of war and a symbol of resilience. This is the story of the 1943 steel wheat penny, a coin so unique in American numismatic history that it continues to fascinate collectors, historians, and everyday people alike from the moment it left the presses of the United States Mint during World War II to the decades of discovery in pocket change. This coin has carried with it a tale of sacrifice, ingenuity, controversy, and survival. And today we will go deep into its history, its design, its circulation, its varieties, its errors, and its lasting impact on American coinage and culture. The wheat penny itself began in 1909 as part of President Theodore Roosevelt's campaign to beautify American coinage and honor Abraham Lincoln on the centennial of his birth. The new Lincoln cent featured the beloved wheat ears reverse, symbolizing prosperity and hard work. It became instantly popular and remained in production until 1958, when the memorial reverse replaced it. However, in 1943, the world and the mint faced an unprecedented challenge. Copper was needed for shell casings, for ammunition, for electrical wiring, for the vast machinery of war that kept Allied forces supplied on the battlefields of Europe, Africa, and the Pacific. The mint had no choice but to look for alternatives to continue cent production. Thus came the birth of the steel cent. In 1943, for the first and only time in American history, the 1-cent coin was made primarily of steel with a thin zinc coating to prevent rust. 3 main mints, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, struck these coins in the hundreds of millions, but despite their massive numbers, their appearance was so unlike the traditional penny that they immediately stood out in circulation. Bright silvery color often caused them to be mistaken for dimes, and their light weight made them feel unusual in the hand collectors. Today, see the 1943 steel wheat penny as one of the most iconic pieces of U.S. coinage, not just for its metallic composition, but also for the many varieties and errors that surround it. The most famous and valuable error is the 1943 copper penny, a mistake that occurred when leftover copper planchets from 1942 were fed into the presses. These rare survivors of a minting transition have fetched prices in the hundreds of thousands, even millions at auction, and continue to spark dreams among coin roll hunters and collectors around the world. But even the steel cents themselves have their own story of where corrosion and survival while the zinc coating protected the steel core. Initially, it often wore away, leaving the coins prone to rust and pitting, especially in humid environments. This made pristine examples harder to find and gave rise to the challenge of collecting steel pennies in high mint state grades. The differences between coins struck at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints provide additional variety for collectors, with each mint leaving its small identifying mark, or in the case of Philadelphia, none at all. Beyond the numismatic details, the steel penny reflects the sacrifices Americans made during World War II. It symbolizes how even the smallest denomination of money was tied to the larger war effort, and how everyday life adapted to extraordinary circumstances. Newspapers of the time reported on public reactions to the new pennies, some praising the patriotic move, others complaining about confusion at cash registers, banks, and stores. The mint itself issued statements reassuring the public that the change was temporary, and indeed, in 1944, copper returned, but not pure copper. This time, the coins were made from salvaged shell casings, a poetic reminder of how money and war became linked. In the most literal sense, over the decades, the 1943 steel wheat penny has grown in legend. Stories of children in the 1950s searching through piles of change in hopes of spotting the shiny steel cents, stories of families keeping jars of them as curiosities, stories of collectors chasing after the elusive copper version as the holy grail of American cents television shows. Magazines and coin dealers all helped spread the fame of this coin, turning it into an icon in American numismatics. In the world of grading and value, the steel wheat penny presents many dimensions. A common circulated example may only be worth a few cents, but higher-grade uncirculated specimens, especially those with brilliant original luster, can command significant premiums. Mint state 65 or better coins, particularly those certified by professional grading services, can bring collectors hundreds of dollars. And when it comes to error, coins off-center strikes, doubled, dies wrong, planchet errors, and of course, the legendary copper strikes, the prices soar into the stratosphere. As we dive deeper into the history of this coin, we uncover the metallurgical decisions, the political discussions, and the wartime directives that gave birth to the 1943 steel cent. We explore the day-to-day experiences of Americans encountering the new coins. We trace their journey through circulation, storage hoards, and the modern collector market. We look at the technological challenges of producing steel planchets at scale, the methods of plating them with zinc, and the problems encountered when the coating wore down. We also consider the long-term influence this coin had on future minting experiments and the ongoing fascination with alternative metals. The story of the 1943 steel wheat penny is not merely about a piece of currency. It is about America itself in a time of sacrifice, innovation, and unity. It is about the intersection of war and money, industry and necessity, patriotism and daily life. It is about how a small coin in your pocket can tell a story that stretches across continents and generations. And by the end of this journey, you will see that this humble penny is not just a coin. It is a chapter of history frozen in steel. Humble coin could be one of the most important pieces in American numismatic history. The year is 1938. America stands quietly in the shadows of a changing world. The Great Depression is ending. The winds of war are blowing overseas, and yet in the pocket of a hard-working American sits a simple copper coin. 1 cent bearing the face of Abraham Lincoln with 2 wheat stalks on the back. This is the wheat penny of 1938, and its story is far deeper than its denomination. The wheat penny design began in 1909, marking the centennial of Lincoln's birth, created by Victor David Brenner. The obverse features the iconic portrait of Lincoln, while the reverse carries two wheat ears, symbolizing prosperity and unity. This design would continue until 1958. But every year within this series holds its own chapter, and the year 1938 brings forward its own tale. Minted in 3 locations, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The 1938 wheat penny was struck in a time of preparation and economic transition. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 156 million coins, the Denver Mint just over 20 million, and the San Francisco Mint a little over 15 million. These numbers may seem large, but for collectors and historians, the story lies beyond the mintage. It lies in condition variations, mint marks, historical context, errors, and survival rates. Let us begin with the historical backdrop of 1938. The United States was still grappling with the effects of the Depression, but slowly recovering. Franklin D. Roosevelt was president. His New Deal programs were reshaping American life, jobs were returning, industry was growing, and yet Europe was heading toward the Second World War. Coins of this era became subtle witnesses to these times, circulating in millions of hands across cities, towns, and rural communities. The penny may have seemed insignificant, but it was a daily tool, a necessity, a marker of time. In terms of composition, the 1938 wheat penny followed the standard used since 1909, 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. This bronze alloy would continue until 1943, when the wartime steel cent was temporarily introduced, but the 1938 penny remains within that traditional copper standard, giving it a rich reddish-brown tone when preserved properly. That tone is sought, after today, by collectors, especially in uncirculated condition. Next, we must understand the significance of mint marks. The Philadelphia coins bear no mark. Denver bears the D and San Francisco bears the AS. The 1938 D and 1938 S coins had lower mintages, making them more desirable in higher grades, while circulated examples are common mint, state red examples with full details. Clean surfaces and strong luster are far scarcer and bring higher premiums at auction. A key area of intrigue in the wheat penny series is error coins, and the 1938 penny offers several examples from doubled dies to off-center strikes, repunched mint marks, and die cracks. Errors from the Denver Mint especially are often sought due to their crisp strike quality and the likelihood of varieties developing in smaller runs. Repunched mint marks, or RPM coins, are known to exist in the 1938 D series, with doubling visible under magnification in the DI mint mark itself. These varieties are cataloged by specialists and fetch strong interest among error collectors. Moving into the realm of grading, we consider how these coins are evaluated on the 70-point Sheldon scale. A 1938 penny in good condition may only bring face value or slightly more, but one in MS-65 red condition certified by PCGs or NGC can be worth significant sums, especially if it possesses a rare variety or a perfectly preserved surface with original mint luster. Color plays a major role as well, with red, brown, and brown designations describing the copper color preservation. Red is most desirable as it indicates minimal oxidation and maximum eye appeal. The auction history of the 1938 wheat penny tells a vivid story. In recent years, MS-67 red examples have sold for hundreds, even thousands, depending on rarity and demand. For example, a 1938 D in MS-67 red with a sharp strike and original color may bring over $1,000 in top venues, including heritage auctions, stacks, Bowers, and great collections. The provenance or ownership history of these coins can also enhance their value, with some specimens carrying a chain of elite collectors in their records. Beyond the numbers, the 1938 wheat penny serves as a mirror of American resilience, as the nation climbed out of economic hardship and into a new industrial era. This coin circulated during Moments of transformation from radio dominance to the rise of television, from old world immigration to new world industry, from the first supermarket to the last days before World War II. Each coin touched lives, witnessed transactions, and silently chronicled the American experience. For the numismatist, the 1938 wheat penny is not just a collectible, it is a portal into the past. It allows us to trace metallurgy, technology, design, and the evolution of American culture through something as simple as 1 cent. It is why collectors pursue not just rarity, but connection. It is why condition matters, not just for value, but for preservation of memory. Advanced collectors often pursue full sets of wheat pennies by year and mint mark, with high-grade examples filling albums or slabbed collections. The 1938 issues, especially from San Francisco, are considered condition. Rarities, meaning few high-grade red examples, survive from that mint due to weaker strikes and less careful handling over time. Their population in top grades remains limited, creating constant demand. We must also speak of fakes and counterfeits as the hobby has grown. So have attempts to create replicas, altered mint marks, or artificially colored pieces. This makes authentication crucial, especially for high-value coins. Third party. Grading services play a vital role in ensuring legitimacy, assigning grades and sealing coins in tamper-proof holders with serial numbers accessible online through databases. In the world of education and museums, the wheat penny remains an accessible tool for teaching history, economics, and design. Even schools use them to introduce children to coin collecting and the world of numismatics. A 1938 wheat penny can spark conversations about inflation, industry politics, and the personal stories of those who use them daily. As we move deeper into the 21st century, the value of these pennies extends beyond price. It lies in preservation, storytelling, and the shared passion of millions of collectors worldwide, from beginners with jars of old change to specialists curating mint state rarities. The community continues to grow, centered around the quiet, humble wheat penny. As we approach the conclusion of this detailed journey, let us reflect on what makes the 1938 wheat penny so compelling. It is not its price tag, though some are quite valuable. It is not only its copper shine, though brilliant reds catch the eye. It is its place in history. A coin minted on the brink of war, carried through a time of peace and struggle, used by people whose names we may never know, but whose legacy we honor with every coin collected, every story told, every memory preserved. So next time you come across a wheat penny, take a closer look. If it says 1938, remember that you hold not just a coin, but a piece of the American soul, a quiet survivor from a world that was changing 1 cent at a time, where ordinary pocket change turns into extraordinary American history. And today, we are opening the door to one of the most misunderstood and secretly fascinating coins ever struck in the United States. The Lincoln penny of 1972. A coin that millions of people have held without ever realizing. They were touching a living time capsule of American culture, politics, technology, and everyday life. This is not just a penny. This is a witness to a nation in motion. A nation wrestling with war, innovation, inflation, hope, fear, and change. And as this story unfolds, you will discover why the 1972 Lincoln penny is far more than copper and zinc. It is a silent storyteller from an era when America stood at a crossroads. To truly understand the 1972 Lincoln penny, you must first step back into the early 1970s, a time when the United States was experiencing deep social change. The Vietnam War was still shaping headlines and families. Inflation was creeping into everyday purchases, and trust in institutions was being tested. Americans were saving pennies because pennies still mattered. Gas, groceries, and school lunches all depended on small change. And the Lincoln cent remained the backbone of daily commerce. The United States Mint was under pressure to produce massive quantities of cents to keep up with demand. And in 1972, that pressure reached historic levels. The Lincoln penny design itself carried a legacy already more than 60 years old, first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. This was the first regular issue American coin to feature a real person. Lincoln image symbolized unity, strength, and perseverance, values Americans desperately needed in the early 70s. By 1972, the familiar portrait designed by Victor David Brenner had become one of the most recognized images in the world. And yet behind that familiar face, the story was changing. The 1972 Lincoln penny was struck during a period of intense production primarily at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, with no mint mark indicating Philadelphia and a small d representing Denver. Millions upon millions were produced as the mint struggled to meet demand, but speed and volume came with consequences: worn, dies hurried inspections. And mechanical strain led to some of the most famous and valuable varieties ever discovered in modern cent history. And this is where the 1972 penny transforms from common to legendary. Among collectors, the phrase 1972 doubled die instantly commands attention. This dramatic error created when the coin dies were misaligned during the hubbing process resulted in strong visible doubling on the date and lettering, especially the word liberty and the motto, "In God We Trust." This was not a minor flaw. It was bold, unmistakable, and astonishing. And for years, these coins slipped into circulation unnoticed, mixed in with ordinary change. Children spent them at candy stores. Adults dropped them into jars. And only later did collectors realize what had happened. When the error was confirmed, it sent shockwaves through the numismatic world. The 1972 doubled die Lincoln penny became one of the most famous error coins of the 20th century, representing how human imperfection can create accidental masterpieces. Values climbed as awareness spread, and examples in strong condition became highly sought after. Even today, collectors carefully examine every 1972 cent, hoping to find that unmistakable doubling that could turn a single penny into a prized treasure. But the story does not end with errors. The metal itself tells another chapter. In 1972, the Lincoln penny was still composed primarily of copper, a composition that would soon disappear forever as rising metal prices forced the mint to change materials. This makes the 1972 cent part of the final era of traditional copper pennies coins that sound, feel, and age differently than modern cents. Holding one today is like holding a piece of lost craftsmanship from a time when even the smallest denomination carried weight and substance. Circulation wear tells its own story. Every scratch and smooth edge speaks of hands, pockets, registers, and journeys across the country. These pennies paid for newspapers, phone calls, and school milk. They traveled through a nation facing uncertainty, yet pushing forward, and because so many were saved unknowingly, the 1972 Lincoln penny remains one of the most approachable historical coins for new collectors, while still offering excitement for seasoned experts. As you look at a 1972 Lincoln penny, you are not just seeing Lincoln profile. You are seeing the pressure of mass production, the risks of mechanical error, the economics of metal supply, and the everyday rhythm of American life frozen in copper. This is why the 1972 penny matters. This is why collectors never stop searching. And this is why at Coins we believe every coin has a voice, and this one speaks loudly if you know how to listen. Stay with us as we continue uncovering the hidden stories, values, rare varieties, and secrets still waiting inside the Lincoln pennies of America, because the next treasure might already be in your pocket, and the next great story always starts with one small coin.